Welcome to the Depths of Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. In season 8, we're exploring what it means to reweave the village, to return to connection after generations of being told we have to do it alone. And truthfully, I'm still finding my way too. Like many of us, I'm saying yes to a new way, learning to notice my old patterns of survival and finding my way back to a life that aligns with the heart. I hope that each episode feels like you're sitting around the fire with a group of friends in raw, honest conversations. I'd love for you to get involved in this season, so please write below in the chat or come to join us on our social media page. And if you go to the show notes, you're going to find my newly released book, Reclaiming Circle, a guide to holding women's circles. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes through in this season. Welcome back. Today we're going to be exploring social anxiety, not as something to fix, but as a meaningful response from the body, something that deserves listening rather than resistance, pressure, or denying. I'm speaking about those moments when something inside quietly or loudly says, I don't want to go, before you have even formed a thought about why. And two, the ways that anxiety can move through the body and shape behavior long before the mind understands what is actually going on. For many of us, anxiety does not begin as a thought, and we might notice this and we might not. So sometimes you'll start to notice the sensations, a tightening in the chest, a heaviness in the belly, a pressure around the throat, a subtle turning away from the world that feels instinctive rather than chosen. And from there, the mind often steps in to help us escape discomfort, creating reasons, judgments, irritation, or even conflict. Not because we are failing socially, but because the nervous system is searching and hoping for safety. Sometimes anxiety shows up as a resistance, procrastination, or the urge to cancel plans. Sometimes it appears as becoming sharp, defensive, or closed in the heart space. For some, it speaks through the body as illness, fatigue, digestive issues, infections, even collapse, complete exhaustion. Because when activation has nowhere to go, the body finds other ways to speak. So, as we go through this conversation, remember that anxiety is not a weakness, and it's definitely not a personal flaw. It is a protective response from a body that has learned something about this world. The word anxiety comes from the roots meaning to constrict or tighten, which is what I've experienced a lot with this. The body perceives a threat, the muscles brace, the breath shortens, attention narrows, and energy prepares for action. And from a nervous system perspective, social anxiety often lives in a shifting space between fight, flight, and freeze, and appease too. Part of you may want to escape, part of you may want to defend, part of you may want to disappear entirely, part of you may want to make sure that everyone's okay and that you're still safe in this space. So we're going to explore this today so that we can become more aware of the ways that our body can respond to social situations. And also to get to know when your body is intuitively picking up on something that may be off and may be depleting for you. Maybe there's an imbalance in the relationship. Maybe the meeting place doesn't feel safe. There's so many different things that can come up. So we're going to just try to come from that place of observation so we can get a clearer picture of what is happening, and we can tend to ourselves when there is that closing down, that resistance, that threat that is showing up within the body, so that we can be with that part of ourselves and we can continue to move ourselves into relationships with people that feel safe, to continue to show up in this world with the intention to reweave, which I know so many of us are longing for. Social anxiety, as we're going to call it today, but we are going to drop more into the sensations because it's just a label given to sensations. It might not be anything to do with that specific moment, which is a really good way to kind of make some space because the mind can really just try to hone in on that one situation and really amplify it so loud that it's all about that, when actually it might be something, probably something that you're holding as a belief within you. So we can start to find out what that might be. So it's not often about that moment alone. It can carry echoes of past relationships, collective instability, or even inherited patterns from those who have lived in conditions where visibility was dangerous and unsafe. So if we go back a few years during COVID, wow, a few years, many years ago, many nervous systems learned that other humans were a threat, that closeness meant danger, and that plans could collapse without warning. And even now, many bodies are still living inside that imprint, responding to social contact as though it's a threat. And for many people in this world, the environment may actually be a threat. So, what we want to come to really sit with today is getting to know our body and how she's communicating so that we can tap into our intuition. We can learn from the past and we can really respond to what is happening in this moment, even if it is. I just don't feel like going today because I'm exhausted. But the part of the ourselves, which doesn't want to be the one that lets people down, might start to find reasons to why the environment or the people or the situation is the problem, when actually just honesty of, oh, I don't feel like it, whether you just don't feel like it for whatever reason, or you're exhausted, or there's just been a lot happening, whatever the reason is that you don't want to go, when we hold that and we see, oh, that's the reason, then we can start to let the mind have a break to try to solve it with something that is outside of us. And this is the dance with it, because maybe it is something to do with this a specific group of people or the area or the time of day. But this is why when we come back to ourselves and we listen and we distance ourselves from the interaction or from the event that is coming up, and we just look at a bigger picture, we can really start to get to know ourselves better and to also tune back into our intuition and to our voice to say what is nourishing for us and what is depleting. And this is a lifelong journey to really tune into that accurately. And so we'll be going back and forth as we have these opportunities to deepen into connection with people around us. And I suppose the beauty of all this is we don't have to be perfect with it. We are just dancing with it. We are just trying to understand ourselves and the world around us more deeply, because the last thing we want is more shame on ourselves, to be like, oh, I'm not doing it right, or why do I feel like I don't want to be around people? So the mind can go down many paths with this, but how we're going to get through this and how we're going to return to one another, to ourselves, to the earth, is through the body and through space and through listening. So when we place this inside the context of how humans are living now, often overstimulated, disconnected from the land and the rhythm, as to perform socially while carrying grief or uncertainty or exhaustion, this is how we can see these sensations that we label as anxiety begin to make sense. I'd like to share a little personal story now, because I know this terrain very, very well. during COVID, I was in Canada. Um, and it was while everything was closing down around me. This isn't where I'm from, it's where my partner's from. I had left my home in France. I'm from England. If anyone's been following these episodes, you'll know I'm from England, but I moved to France to open a retreat center, and that was my home. But I was stuck in Canada in these times, and I was losing my business, my home in France, and my sense of safety. I had just met my partner, and we were meant to travel from Guatemala, where I met him, to India for a retreat that I was holding, which became impossible because of the travel bans, and is why we ended up in Canada, which is where I got pregnant. So I carried this deep guilt and shame around letting people down on the retreat I was supposed to hold in India, because people from the UK were still able to travel over to India. And I was carrying this deep guilt and shame for letting people down. And I was holding it so tight, and I became really ill. Like my body, my throat, I got a urinary tract infection. Um, and which for me was this clear signal of holding too much, of containing without release. And I really was finding it hard to be with these sensations of guilt and shame. And maybe they're even coming up for you now as you're hearing my story, but there are moments when we would label something as guilt and shame, there's a sensation inside the body. And for me, it just makes me feel so sick. And at this point, I hadn't learned how to stay with the sensations. I had just constantly moved from them. But this time, my body got sick, and it was saying, stay, stay. And after I overcome this illness, I started to notice this anger coming through, very, very strong. And it felt so wild, and it felt unfamiliar, because everything that I'd been controlling in my life was starting to crumble. I couldn't hold on to anything. It was like I was falling into this big black hole, and I couldn't catch anything as I was falling into this well of unknown and uncertainty. And my nervous system was swinging between collapse and explosion, just like completely unstable. And so I couldn't return to France, and I stayed in Canada for many months. And it was in that liminal underground time that I became pregnant. So it was these moments where I just felt like I was in complete chaos, but also drifting into states of deep peace. So it was passing through all of these states as my reality as I knew it was crumbling. And looking back now, I can see that my nervous system was overloaded with so many emotions, grief, responsibility, uncertainty. And my body was doing everything it could to survive. But the tools that I usually would have of control had gone. And so it's a very familiar feeling for me, because I went through for a long time, and I found it so hard to socialize. I just felt I couldn't leave my home, even though there were opportunities during that time to connect. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And I still meet this pattern at times, especially during periods of transition or um, relationship struggles, when decisions are unresolved. My system shifts into this protection mode. My heart seems to harden, and my body closes, and my mind goes round in loops until I can become so exhausted. So just take some time. You remember, you can pause this, it's a podcast, and just feel into what's resonating right now, if there's anything coming up. And if you're noticing your body starting to contract, your breathing change, you might be having a memory come up for you. There might be something rising up. So just take some time to breathe, Notice, soften, open, and let your body know that you're just exploring, that everything's okay, that you are safe, and you're just allowing yourself to explore what is happening when there's a perceived threat, especially around this topic of social anxiety. Because what we're trying to do is to reweave the village. So we want to know what can get in the way, what can be the resistance and the wall between us, the earth, and one another. So if you recognize yourself in any of this, what I've been speaking of, I welcome you to receive this gently and clearly, that you are not alone and nothing is wrong with you. These sensations that we label as social anxiety often belong to sensitive, perceptive nervous systems living in conditions that do not reliably offer safety or rest. So rather than trying to get rid of anxiety or the sensations, the invitation is to become intimate with it, with all the sensations that come, beginning with feeling, beginning with noticing, because the mind can go in loops if you try to fix it or solve it. So when we go back to the body, what is real is the sensations. When the sensations that you would label as anxiety arise, or when you hear yourself saying, "Oh, I have social anxiety," see if you can ask quietly where it lives in the body and what its quality is, without trying to fix it or overanalyze, simply to notice and to feel. Like, is it tight or heavy? Is it sharp or dull? Is it restless? Is it cold and icy? Does it shift when you bring attention to it, or hide almost like a numbness? Because it's often the body saying, "I don't feel safe yet," or "This is too much too fast," or "I need support." The first act of care is acknowledgement, naming internally these sensations inside. I am feeling these sensations, and describe what they're like. Follow them, feel them. And you can say, "This is what I would usually label as anxiety. This is my nervous system responding." And see how that feels to begin with, to create that space and that acknowledgement that something is happening in your body. And to use a term, regulation, but to notice what is happening inside the body, and in that space of finding the balance. We can't get to that place through pure willpower, through force. It happens through relationship with breath, with movement, with the earth, the plants, and even with other safe human beings, when there is no demand to perform, when there is the beauty of being witnessed in a loving awareness. The breath can gently signal safety when we allow the exhale to lengthen slightly, letting the body know that that moment is not an emergency, that we have space and we have time. Sound can help when these sensations we label as anxiety live in the chest or the throat or the stomach. Gentle humming or sighing can stimulate the vagus nerve and release any unnecessary tension. Movement is incredible because our body holds energy. So when we have these sensations that we label as anxiety, there's a release of this energy that is stored in the body, in the memories. So slow, intentional movements are really supportive. Standing with your feet grounded, knees soft, spine upright but relaxed, and the arms hanging naturally tells the body that it's supported. Gently rocking or swaying can help discharge any excess energy without overwhelm. But play around with this because it depends on what stage the sensations are moving through. If you are in a state where you feel very resistant and you're fighting and you're maybe there's maybe this creation of fire inside of you, and the energy may need more movement before there's the pause. So you might want to do some shaking or some loud exhales. It might be that you've moved into the state of flight where you want to get away, like, okay, let's move, let's get out of here. Try going for a walk without needing to know where you're going. Just going for a walk and breathing and finding them affirmations. Make these affirmations for yourself. I am safe. I have space. I have time and breath. And know that you don't need to rush through this, but it will pass. If it is the feeling of being frozen and you can't move, there's a heaviness, the state of freeze, then you can start to slowly come back through awakening your senses, whether that is with some delicious food or smelling a flower or looking outside, trying to find the smaller movements around you, like an ant walking through the grass or looking up to the sky to see how the clouds move, and slowly coming out of your shell to see that the world is safe around you. And it might be that you're in that state of appease where you maybe want to cancel the event, for an example. So you say, oh, I'm not going, but I'm having another event here. Can we meet here? Or you try to do something for someone, like, oh, maybe I can come around and help you. Like, how can I best support you? And you're doing this in response to not going because there's a fear that you will be exiled or not appreciated in some way. So just starting to notice yourself, and this can honestly manifest in so many ways, but this is why I say the first part is noticing that there's an imbalance or there's a awakening in the nervous system that you can feel, which is through the breath, through the blood, through how you're holding the energy inside of you. So you'll know when something is feeling a little bit off if you slow down a little bit to notice. And this will get much, much easier as you continue to practice this as well. It'll become very clear. You'll be able to pinpoint when the sensations are connected to something socially. It will be very similar, and you'll be able to, like, oh yeah, I noticed this is coming up, and you'll have different tools that you've been working on through the time that just start to bring you back, to ground you, to slow your heart, to find that safety again. So now I'm going to speak about some herbs that I feel are really powerful allies when paired with movement and presence rather than just used as a quick fix. So, if this sensation, there's a tightness in the chest or the heart, herbs such as rose can really support the softening and trust. And also, I love cacao. So, cacao is so special for me. Um, Obviously, if you're purchasing anything, know where it's come from, know where it's sourced, knows whose hands it's touched. Thinking about these things because it's very important, because they'll carry the energy of the journey to you as well. So if you combine rose and cacao, especially with the movement of slow arm movements or hands resting over the heart, like opening the chest through the arms, through the fingers, and not just thinking about, the front of the body, but the sides and the back as well. So the herbs and the movement and the breath together is a really nice way to open through the chest. When the sensations show up as agitation or tension anywhere in the body, or irritability, like a little bit of a fire, lemon balm or milky oat can be really supportive, particularly alongside stretching of the neck, of the shoulders, or slow rocking, grounding yourself through the feet, like trying to find that position in your body where it feels steady and grounded, and then allowing the movement to move from the feet up to the top of the head, the neck, and the shoulders. When this sensation arise as a heaviness, a dullness, a collapse, an exhaustion, I really love Tulsi because it can offer this gentle lift. It's like hands reaching out to lift you up, finding the roots through the earth and the lift through the breath. So combined with the breath and upright postures or walking just gently and intentionally, I find really beautiful. And remembering that plants work best when they're invited consciously, when they are respected and they're seen as a companion rather than a quick fix. I had an episode on this, which I'll put in the show notes, of how to connect to the plants that you're welcoming into your life. And also just a note on this, with anything that you're welcoming in with plants, please just do your own research to make sure that it is supportive for you at this time. So now let's look from a spiritual perspective. And I know, what is spirituality, right? That's a whole episode in itself, but see what it means to you. Spirituality, you as a spiritual being, because these sensations that we label as anxiety can be felt as fragmentation of presence, a pulling away from the moment because the moment feels too intense or unpredictable. And so, beneath the layers of protection, there is an intact essence that has not been touched by anxiety. There is a place inside of you, inside of each of us, that remains steady, unwavering, and pure love, even when the nervous system is activated. And one of the most profound practices for me, which I've shared many, many times in my online circles, is through feeling the sensations inside of your body, through being witness to the movement of energy. And my partner, who is the founder of Evolving Humans, he has a beautiful practice that has really supported me through feeling the energy in your body without pushing. So if you're sensitive to energy, you can hold your hand over the place where you're feeling the tension or the loud sensation, and without pushing into the physical body and without pushing into the energetic body, finding the outer edge, almost like a bubble that is radiating from within you. You can have your hand there just to gently feel, and we're saying to our body, I see you and I love you. Let me feel and experience what is there. So that is like the basis of it, very simply. If you want to know more about that, then you can head over to Evolving Humans, where he shares more of his practices. So now let's explore social contact and boundaries. Gentle social contact can be really helpful for rebuilding trust when it feels low pressure, maybe even unplanned. So small interactions, greeting somebody and really seeing them, saying thank you, making brief eye contact, all these gentle, honest, authentic ways of meeting people, whether it's in the supermarket, whether it's your bus driver, whether it's people you're passing in the street, whatever it is, these moments where you say yes to seeing another person, like really seeing them. You don't even have to say anything, but like, I see you. You appreciate them as the soul that they are. These can help to teach the body that connection does not always require this pressure or this performance. It can come, well, hopefully we're all working towards it coming from this authentic, honest place where we're meeting another soul. So if interactions become too much, we can make space for ourselves. Pause in, breathe in, softening the body intentionally. All these things can prevent this escalation of the nervous system after it is perceiving a threat. We can, in the moment to moment, notice and slow and breathe, and we can give ourselves space. So there are some things to really, sit with and ask yourself, how can I make myself some space if I'm noticing the contractions come through my body, if I'm noticing it's all getting a little bit too much? Would it feel good to you to ask for space to breathe, to take some alone time? Like, what is it that you could do in the moments when the nervous system is perceiving a threat or it's all just getting a little bit too stimulating? And if you can do this in the moment, you're going to very quickly create a deep relationship with your body where she trusts you and she knows that you're listening. And you come and you breathe, you make that space, you tell your body, if it's safe, it's safe. I feel you. Thank you for sharing. And you can choose what you do moment to moment. Like I said, this is a lifelong practice. And you also get to see, maybe this space isn't good for me. Maybe this conversation isn't nourishing for me. And you get to explore this as well. And you have the right to decide for yourself what you do moment to moment, how you're going to make space for yourself. And also by doing this, you're role modeling um, this ability to tend to yourself, to listen to yourself, to care for yourself. And I believe if each one of us can do that in full love and compassion and truth, there will be huge shifts in this world, because so many of us are running in the unconscious realm, responding to perceived threats. So you can practice what you might say to give yourself space, because in the moments where the nervous system is perceiving a threat, it's often really tricky to find the right words. So if you have your go-to phrase like, "Oh, it's been so wonderful to see you. I have to go tend to something now." You don't have to say what it is. You can literally just say that and give yourself space. Obviously, this isn't going to work in all situations. So just trying to find them key phrases that are going to support you in the moments of interaction if you're feeling everything just closing in on you and you need to breathe. It could be as simple as, "I'm just going to take a walk around the garden. I'm just going to go for a breather." You're allowed to do that. That's okay. And if people around you um, don't enjoy your response and they take it a certain way, also to remember that that is not your responsibility, because you know that what you are doing is from your heart space and you're doing it so that you can stay in your heart and you can continue to reweave yourself back into community, back into relationship. So maybe I should have mentioned before this, what if you are feeling these sensations come up and you're saying out loud, "I don't want to go. Like it's going to be awful." Like you're hearing yourself say all these things, your body is contracting. You go into what you would say is a state of anxiety around this interaction. You don't have to go, is the truth. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. If it's so overwhelming, you can take that time to be with your body, to take the time for you that you would have spent in that interaction. You can take it to be with what is there. What are them sensations? What do they want to tell you? Feel first and listen. Now, if you've just caught it and you notice it coming up and you're kind of feeling like, "Yeah, I'm going to go still, even though I've got these sensations," take it slow and breathe, and step by step. Notice your mind wanting to overthink the situation, like who's going to be there? What are we going to talk about? What if I say something ridiculous? Notice all them things and come back into your body, come back into your breath, and take it moment to moment. Be in the presence. If you have an affirmation that says something like, "I am safe. I can make space for myself." Whatever it is that is going to support you with the fears that are coming up. And actually, the thoughts that you hear are really helpful for creating your affirmation, because you can hear what the perceived threat is to the best of our knowing. So that's another way. So I wonder what's come up for you. I'd love to know in the comments if you're willing to share. And this topic can go very, very deep. And what I've tried to do here, my intention with this episode was to be a friend, to say, you're not alone, you're not broken, that I've been through it. So many have been through it, and so many of us will go through it again. That feeling where we really want to connect, but everything inside of it is saying no. And there's the contraction, and there's the pain, and then there's the, oh, what does this mean about me as a person? Will I ever be able to connect with a person? Because what's really happening is a deep desire to belong, to connect, to be seen, and to see another. And this is why we're going through this in this season, to gently explore different aspects of this, not with a set resolution, but more of a exploration and a feeling of mm, a feeling that these sensations, these experiences that we have, these resistances that we have when it comes to reconnecting and reweaving, are not isolated to you. They are experiences that many of us are having. And I think when we can be honest about it, this is where there's a lot of healing that can take place and a lot of power we can regain with this. We get choice. Whenever I host circles, I always share if anxiety is sitting with me, like I will describe it as um, I arrived here today and I had tension in my chest, in my throat. However, the sensations are arising. And I'll say something like, I would label these sensations as anxiety. So these sensations came with me today. I welcome them to sit with us. I really want to be here. And I'm really grateful my body is communicating with me. And so it's just a way to bring everything to the table. And because also we can really feel one another beyond words. So it also allows others to know how we're arriving and how we're meeting them. And I didn't have to even go into depth and label it as social anxiety. I could have just said the sensations. I don't have to share anything that's happening in my personal life. It's more of an honesty of what is happening in that moment. And I can share as much or as little as I like. And I actually find sharing more the sensations is very easy because it keeps the mind out of it, It's like, yeah. So using this as a practice in relationships is a really good way to meet each other more deeply. Like my friend is staying right now, and we'll always just check in the morning, like, how did you sleep? Like, what is happening for you? Because so much can happen during the night and when you wake up. So just knowing, like, oh, I'm feeling tired today, or I didn't have a good night's sleep, or I have some stuff like sensations coming up today. And yeah, it's just a nice way to meet one another where we're at. So, see what came through in this conversation. If there's anything else you want to share in the comments that's come through, or if you want to reach out to me privately, you can. Because, yeah, like I mentioned, we can go very, very deep with this. Like the sensations that we have could come from anywhere. And there might be some deeper work to do with someone who is understands this more deeply, understands these pathways of protection that we have inside of our body, and that it's okay to get more support. We're always going to be on a spectrum whenever it comes to this social anxiety topic. So for some of us, it might be very mild and we can move through it. For some of us, it might be really intense and kind of just crashes us down to the earth, just like I can feel like explosions and fireworks and numbness and all of the things like can totally knock us off balance. So there's a full spectrum with this, and this is why sensations, knowing, feeling, voicing these sensations is very helpful, because no two people's social anxiety is ever going to feel the same, because we're so unique and wonderful. And I suppose I'll just add here before we go into the final practice. sometimes what I've noticed is my anxiety towards social interactions is coming because I haven't slept, because I've maybe had too much coffee, because maybe I haven't been in nature for a day or 2 days, and I'm just feeling like a lot of energy build up. So checking in with the basic human needs, like have I slept? Have I have I drank water? Have I eaten today? Have I moved my body? Have I took deep breaths today? And starting there is a really nice way, because all them needs, if they're unmet, can also leave energy wandering in random places or stuck or amplified. And the mind might be like, oh, this is because of the social gathering you have coming up, but it might not be. It might just like need some water or some food or something. And not to downplay it, but just to check in with them things first. Just like have a list of all the things that you know kind of need to be tended to as well. So again, it's really just coming back to tending to your body, listening to your body, and yeah, moving through life and from that point. So let's go into a simple practice for this week. Once a day or whenever you're feeling them sensations arise, place one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach and allow your weight to settle into the ground beneath you. Let your breath move naturally. Just notice the breath moving. Then gently orientate to your surroundings by naming 5 things that you can see. 4 things you can touch. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. And 1 thing you can taste or remember tasting. So I'll say that again. 5 things you can see. 4 things you can feel through touch. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. And 1 thing you can taste or remember tasting. So this helps the nervous system recognize the present moment. Then ask yourself quietly or out loud, what would help you to feel just a little bit more supported right now? And then end by feeling your feet on the ground and reminding yourself that you are allowed to move at your own pace. Thank you so much for listening and for being willing to meet your body with care. I meet you here as a friend, as a mother, as somebody who has experienced and will probably experience the sensations that I would call social anxiety again. And yeah, thank you for being here. And I know if you've listened all the way, then you're showing up for yourself and you're also protecting that precious little gem that is the gem of connection and reweaving in the world today. So thank you so much. Again, if you would like to share, you can drop into the comments or come and meet us over in the Instagram. And if you have a moment, I really appreciate any reviews on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Thank you so much and speak to you soon.